All right, I want you to stop for a minute and think of a definition of the word crime. My guess is it's not correct, and there's a reason for that. Crime is kind of a difficult word to nail down. Like, I'm willing to bet that your definition involved some sort of bad behavior. But what about passing a $10 bill that you didn't know was counterfeit? Or accidentally opening your neighbor's mail? Walking out of a grocery store after using the self-checkout without realizing there was something under your cart? Are any of those bad things? Not necessarily. We're going to talk about why crime and its civil law cousin tort are so difficult to nail down in a definition, and how we can come to sort of better understand them. I'm Brian. I make videos about law and civics. Please comment, like, repost, do all the stuff to get this out there so people will see it. Because this is your law, you deserve to understand it. And the more people see this, the more people learn. Okay, let's get started. Now, one of the reasons crime is so difficult to define is sometimes it's not about something that's bad. It's really about something that our legislature has decided they want to stop. So in the example of passing a counterfeit $10 bill by accident, legislatures may have decided they want to stop counterfeit bills from being used, so by making it a crime, they make it more likely that you're going to check and make sure the bill is real, and less likely that if you notice it's not real, you're going to accidentally use it anyway. In that case, it's not really a harm so much as it is a decision by the legislature to make something a crime. So the definition of crime is really something that we have decided to make a crime. Usually it's an action, sometimes it can be an omission. Now, tort is also an act or omission that causes some sort of harm that the law will recognize to a person or to property. But there are big differences between crime and tort, and comparing the two makes it much easier to understand what each one is. Let's get moving. Now, both crime and tort originally came from common law. They were passed down through judicial decisions for hundreds and hundreds of years and were eventually imported into the United States. Today, most tort still comes in the form of common law. Crime, on the other hand, also came from common law, but today a lot of it is written out in statute. So it's a blend of statute and common law today. But when you're analyzing a crime, you almost always want to start with the statute and then move into the common law. Now we're going to look at the theories behind each of them, because that's where you're really going to see a difference between these two. So if the primary theory behind crime were that we were trying to keep people from getting hurt, then crimes like passing a counterfeit $10 bill wouldn't necessarily fit under that umbrella. Instead, we look at crime as more of an offense against society as a whole. Society is held together by laws. Every time you break the law, you put a little bit of weakness into that thing holding us all together. So, when you break the law, you harm society. And that's not to say that crimes aren't around to prevent harm to people as well, but it's a more narrow definition, because not all crimes involve harming people. Tort has a totally different theory behind it. The theory behind tort is that the person who suffers an injury shouldn't be made to bear the cost of that injury if they weren't the reason that it happened. Flipping that around backwards, when damage is done, who should be responsible for paying for the damage? Is it the person themselves who got hurt, or the person who owns the property that was damaged, or is it the person who caused the damage, even if they didn't mean to? And the answer in tort is it's the person who caused the damage. Between those two parties, it should be the person causing the damage who pays for it. So you can see these are two very different theories. Criminal law exists to protect society. Tort law exists to protect the victims of whatever damage was done. And you'll see that come out as we look at the goals of the two. So the general goal behind criminal law is to prevent crimes from occurring in the first place, whether that's by making the cost of committing those crimes too high, or by rehabilitating criminals and keeping them from committing crimes a second time, or various other theories that we use. But the general idea is to stop these actions that we've identified as things we want to stop from occurring in the first place. By contrast, tort is just there to repay the damage. The relief from a crime is a punishment of some sort. The relief from a tort is money. And because of the goals that we're trying to achieve, actions in these two areas of law are brought by very different people. The plaintiff in a criminal case is the government. The harm is to society, so society brings the action. And when you watch a criminal case on TV, you'll usually hear the attorneys say something like, here for the state, for the government, for the city of New York, whatever they're here, they're representing a government entity. It's a matter of preference, but sometimes people who are in those roles like to use the word the people. For the people, I'm whoever representing the people. It's really sort of a preference. A tort is brought by the actual victim because they are being compensated for their financial loss. Now there's one more really important difference between these two. Because criminal enforcement can actually lead to a punishment, while tort enforcement only leads to money, we consider the enforcement of criminal law to be a much bigger deal. And as a result, we have a much higher standard for convicting someone of a crime than we do for winning a tort case. Now the standard of review means what threshold you have to prove your case over in order to win. And it is way higher for crime than it is for tort. And you know these things, these are familiar to you. For a criminal case, we say you must prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt. That means you didn't just prove it like, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. You went beyond they did into, like, your doubts are basically gone. They pretty much did it. We have a lot of standards like that to protect people from criminal conviction because we consider it a really big deal, especially because it can end in incarceration, which is a taking away of your freedom. We also have a concept called lenity, which means any statutes involved must be read in the light most favorable to the defendant. And of course, innocent until proven guilty. A person in our court system is innocent until the very end. By contrast, in tort law, we use a preponderance of the evidence standard. Remember I said there's that, 50-50 right on the edge? Like maybe they did, maybe they didn't? The preponderance of the evidence statute requires that if you are halfway plus anything, you go that way. It's 50% plus anything. You go in that direction. That's the preponderance of the evidence standard, so it's a way lower standard. But I'd say the most important thing for you to walk away with here is that the theory of crime is different from the theory of tort. Tort is here to shift the burden from the person who was injured to the person who caused the injury. Crime is here to protect society and reduce harm, at least as that harm has been identified by our legislators. Anyway, I hope this was helpful, and I hope this gave you some idea of what these two are. Again, please like, comment, follow, do all the stuff you got to do to get this out there. I appreciate you guys watching, and come see me again. If you keep watching them, I'll keep making them. Thanks a lot, guys.